Star Wars Jedi Quest 1 The Way of the Apprentice is for some reason the first numbered entry in this series, and I really have no idea why. I understand numbering the books since, there's a lot of these, and it makes it easy to understand the order in which to read them. As we will cover in Jedi Quest 2, a larger narrative starts to form, but why isn't this Jedi Quest 2? I don't know. Whatever. The first book was kind of an origin story anyways, with that book being the first one to start any kind of status quo, but seems like it'd be easier to skip over that novel and not know when it's not numbered. Anyhow, Jude Watson returned for this one, as you may expect with it following her large narrative that takes place across the Jedi Quest series, as well as her Last of the Jedi series after this, and the Jedi Apprentice series that preceded this. Basically, word for word, this lady is probably up there as one of the most published Star Wars authors of all time. Speaking of the Last of the Jedi, Ferris, one of the Padawans Anakin works with in this book, would end up starring in that series eventually and become the second of Jude Watson's major OCs after Siri. Though like Siri, Jude Watson killed him off. We are 25 books ahead of ourselves here though. Following the events of Jedi Quest, preview novel, Anakin and Obi-Wan are sent on a mission to Radnor with a handful of other Jedi, a planet that is poisoned by deadly gases. The Jedi are met by some resistance, though, from battle droids upon landing, and Anakin is proving rebellious when compared to his fellow Padawans, angering Obi-Wan a bit. Obi-Wan, Siri, Rygal, and Sora, the masters of the group, head into the isolation zone to investigate and rescue citizens, while the Padawans Anakin, Ferris, True, and Dara stayed outside the isolation zone to protect and evacuate. Soon the team meets Curie, who was trying to help heal injured citizens of this planet, with her and her brother owning the biolab that housed the chemicals that caused this catastrophe, eventually surmising her brother must have released them or sold them to terrorists or something. Around this time, though, the Padawans find some raiders, ruling out that this was a total accident. The Masters give the Padawan team strict orders not to engage the threats directly and to wait for orders, but Anakin convinces the other kids they must be more proactive in stopping this threat. The Padawans meet Galen, who tells them to keep helping survivors and ignore the marauders, but the kids aren't buying that this wasn't some sort of setup for the pillage of goods on the planet. The Padawans also discovered evidence of battle droids owned by Galen and Curie, the ones that attacked them on their way in. Eventually, Curie confronts her brother after finding evidence he was involved in this invasion, and that he made an alliance with a group of thieves, the Avoni. This revelation comes as the Jedi Masters start being boxed in by battle droids, with the Padawans led by Anakin and True, who were to bust through the line of battle droids as the other two Padawan warns the Masters to keep fighting, but not to attack Anakin and True in their commandeered MTT fighter. After succeeding in ending the invasion, the Jedi arrest Galen, who is confronted by a devastated Curie about his lack of compassion in recent events that transpired. Anakin in this book has a problem, and that problem is that the kid is an arrogant dickhead. Now, I'm not saying I hate him in this book or anything, but the fact that he's the chosen one and excels at being a Jedi makes him a little prick to his Padawan buddies in this novel, with he and Ferris Olin clashing over who is going to lead this little Padawan excursion they have going on. Ferris clashed with Anakin since they were both hard-headed little pricks in this book, with the two Jedi dick swinging to see who the alpha male is of the group.
He's an alpha male character, okay? He's got the power, he's got the status, he's got the respect. He doesn't have to prove anything to anyone, okay? He's doing this because he's after his purpose, right? And think about it, how he's so driven for the purpose that he's trying to achieve.
True becomes close friends with Anakin at the start of the book since they both mull around trash on the dangerous streets of Coruscant. Though he's their peer, True has a considerable amount of more chill than Anakin and Ferris, with him thinking that his two Padawan companions need to chill out a little bit. Dara is just kind of along for the ride, but keeps getting annoyed about all the meat swinging Anakin and Ferris do. Obi-Wan, Siri, and the other Masters have a secondary plot through most of the book. They worry about their Padawans since they're stuck in the isolation zone, and the Padawans are on the outside, Obi-Wan being kind of the voice of reason in the group, saying that the kids will be fine even though, they're like 12 and lost on a planet filled with pirates and a virus that killed millions. Galen is the main villain, who is behind the scenes the leader of the plunderers of the planet after releasing a deadly bioweapon that he created to sell, but after his sister Curie was like, hell no, we can't sell that, Galen decided that he would just set it off and do this other plot for money, I guess. Anyhow, Galen in this junior novel they would sell at scholastic book fairs in the early 2000s created a mass extinction event, slaughtering millions, though eventually he's captured by the Jedi. Curie is Galen's sister, who worked the front lines to save as many people as she could, eventually learning her brother committed a heinous genocide since he was a bit mad at her. This naturally upsets her a little bit. There's something a bit off-putting about this novel being made for children, technically, and the editors approving the horrendous deaths of millions from a bioweapon, then exploring this dead planet throughout the plot of this book. It's shockingly dark, but then has something of a background moral lesson about teamwork and not committing genocide, I guess. I really miss the days when a super genocide could be featured in a novel made for children. That would be like an episode of Bluey where he goes to Palestine in a UN aid truck or something like that. The prose are again a bit dumbed down when compared to the standard novels, given the fact that this is a junior novel, but besides the simplified language, the characters are still expressive. Also, these characters are supposed to be for kids, so with that in mind, the easier to understand language isn't super out of left field. Not to mention the action scenes like the droid fight at the end where the Masters are being besieged by a droid squad was pretty well done and well written to be expressive and understandable. These books are pretty short. I liked this one as I liked the first. They're almost like old pulp magazines or novellas, where they are shorter, but they still pack in a lot of adventure. Again, I'm tempted to compare this more to something like the Clone Wars TV show than most of the full-length novels. Anakin's cast is expanded a bit here, and I like that Jude Watson created a handful of characters for her novels that would appear throughout her various series. I feel this allows for cohesion and allows her to build out more of a side cast as well to expand her little Star Wars world within Star Wars. Another solid adventure overall.
There's a big controversy, like I said, on YouTube, on the internet, just in general, about the whole alpha male, beta male, and then you throw in the gamma male stuff into the mix. First of all, what is a true alpha male is a man that is really in touch with his masculinity, that has a purpose in life and goes after that.